All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo Podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. I am your host, Patrick Moran. Thank you for listening and for watching, whether it's the audio side, YouTube side, whatever it is. Casual Friday. That means, as always, I am joined by my good buddy, my Friday partner, co-host of the Maintenance Day podcast, noted hockey author, Joe Yerdon. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. It's you look like you're ready to tee up for 36 holes today.
If you're watching,
it's a solid look, man.
If you're watching on the YouTube side, I did. You know what? I geared up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I treated myself. Yeah, I bought myself a couple of nice polos. I can't golf worth shit anymore, but at least I want to be comfortable. I can't, as much as I would like to, I can't wear a hoodie 12 months of the year, 365 days as much as I'd love to.
That's the dream, isn't it? Like that's the absolute dream, to be able to do that and not, die in the humidity. Like that would be perfect.
I get away with them. As long as I can get away with a hoodie, I do. But anyway, all right, so we're going to talk again. This is kind of a light week. I mean, Bills camp did start, and I got a couple of Bills topics, and I got not even so much a Sabres topic. Kind of, I want you to respond to a dream that I had a couple of days ago involving the Buffalo Sabres. Of course, we got our weekly starting five draft this week. We are doing best guitarist, which this, by the way,
it's my prompting.
Joe at Joe's prompting. This was a Joe Yerdon request here. I don't know a lot of guitarists. You shamed me publicly on Twitter over that.
You said you could. You said you didn't even think you could think of five, and I was like, dude,
I
like three, like at least three of your favorite like groups, artists, whatever, are included in that. Are top 10 worthy people in that. So I was like, come on, man.
I can come up with enough. So
you're basically asking me to spot you those three, and I don't know if I can do that.
I know guitarists, I just don't know them well. I can't really, like, sometimes when we do movies or other music and stuff like that, I'm kind of pretty good at being able to defend my pick, so to speak. This is going to be like, I'm picking this guy because I like him and I like the band, and that's it.
That's what it's about, man. We don't have to do advanced scouting on these things.
We're not talking people into votes anyway. They're going to look at our list like they do every week, and they're going to
they're going to find the one thing they like on it and be like, oh, that guy picked it.
Speaking of, all right, so I'll give you a spoiler now. I'm not going to draft him, and I know you're not either, because he's not really a guitar player as much of a singer, but he does play the guitar a lot. Last week, I told you I was going to Garth Brooks concert. I listen, I'm going to admit this, man. I'm not a big country music fan. I don't like to try to pretend that I am. I'm not. And I'm also not a huge fan of going to concerts per se, because I feel like for the most part, the experience for me, the music wise, is never quite as good. Though, like a lot of times musicians you like, artists you like, you go see them live and they let you down. They don't really sound that good. And you walk away being like, wonder how much of this artist is a studio driven artist. And this was at Highmark Stadium, and I don't like the other stuff about the concert. Like, I went with a good buddy of mine. He ain't listening to this shit anyway. And if he is, well, fuck him, because I'm calling him out right now. But we drove. I did not drive, and we parked like on the front lawn of the lot on Southwestern Boulevard, like kind of behind Prohibition Bar, with the intention of getting out of there as soon as possible after the show. I don't like that. If I go to a concert, I think we talked about this a week or two ago. I like the experience of going to a concert. I like to go. I like to make a day of it. I like to tailgate. That's why I like to go to concerts. So I care more about meeting people and having a tailgate than I even do the actual show. And I'm in no rush to get in, and I'm in no rush to get out. Anyway, when I'm not paying for parking, I really don't have much choice. So I pay for parking. So that's where we parked. We were in a lot where, there were people partying, but I didn't know anybody. Like, I knew people like pretty much in every Bills lot everywhere except for this lot. So we go from the lot to the concert. It was like, I felt like 10,000 miles, Joe, from the corner of Southwestern Boulevard to get into section 139 at Highmark Stadium. Man, it was a long ass walk. And yes, I am lazy and fat and freaking have COPD. So none of that shit's easy for me. But anyway, get into the seats. Once the show started, though, this is where, first I'll say afterwards too. Pain in the ass getting out, and he like jumps the curb and almost runs somebody over to get out. That's how quick he wanted to get out. Whereas me, I had bunch of friends there at the show. I was ready to hang out in the party some, I got a text afterwards. So we get out on Southwestern Boulevard. Again, almost run somebody over to get onto the road. We're about halfway home. I'm annoyed because of how quick we had to get out of there. It's like you beelined back to the car to try to beat people to get out. And I get a text from some buddies. Hey, we're all at O'Neill's party. Where are you? I'm like, well, 2/3 of the way home now. So
I'm already at home.
So my tailgating experience sucked. But who cares? The show itself, I'm going to be honest with you, man, Joe. This might have been the best concert I've ever been to in my entire life.
What, really?
He is live, absolutely fucking phenomenal live. He sounds great. He really knows how to work the audience. He's really good he's charismatic. He moves. I mean, this is at a football stadium. The stage is huge. He's working the whole stage. He's moving around. He's playing his guitar great, but it's not even just him. It's the band. Usually I go to a show, especially if it's not a band, if it's an artist like Garth Brooks. I don't really pay much attention to the background singers and to the band. It's all about the lead singer. And this band is phenomenal. I mean, incredible. And you know how they introduce, the members of the band throughout the show sporadically. Most of the people in his band have been with him for 25 plus years.
Okay.
It was blown away. The crowd was into it from the first note to literally the last note. Trisha Yearwood came out for a cameo at the end, sang a couple songs. The show itself was just, I mean, it was a phenomenal concert. One of, if not the best actual concerts I've ever seen in my life, which I did not expect.
Oh, that's cool. Cause Garth is probably the one country guy I would go see.
Yeah.
Like, of all of them, like so much about modern country music is just can't stand it to save my life. But there's something different about Garth's music where it is that it's modern in its way, but it's not like whatever the hell this stuff's trying to be these days. Like I don't know, there's just something different about how he does it, how he performs it, and just like kind of the guy, honestly. Like Garth seems like a pretty good dude.
Yeah.
You see him like posing for pictures with sports people all the time. He's a big sports nut. What was it he did? Where the heck was he? Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused in my head about stuff. But like I don't know, man. Like if you're a country artist, you can sell out a 60,000 seat stadium, or I don't know if it was a sellout or not, but like
it was pretty much a sellout, man. It was full, except for the upper 300 level seats they were empty. However, the floor seats were all sold out, so that kind of made up for the 300 levels. So it was like going to a football game and having it sold out. But yeah, man, he's so good. And the crowds, I mean, literally, I knew a lot of the songs, but I didn't know all the songs. Again, I am not a big country guy, and just singing along, man. And the crowd never got bored. Like the Backstreet Boys I went to a couple weeks ago, and kind of the same deal with the fan. Like their fans are very fanatical, but not every, like, especially their newer stuff that they sang, the Backstreet Boys. It's a lot of people were just moving around to keep moving, like I was. I didn't know what the fuck they were singing, this newest album. Garth Brooks, I'm telling you, man, every goddamn song, and I knew some, but I didn't know them all. You could hear the crowd just singing along. It was crazy, man.
That's awesome.
It was really good, man. Anyway, it was a fun concert. I've been to 2 in a couple of weeks now after not going to a real concert probably in 8 to 10 years or so. It was my first concert ever at Highmark Stadium, too.
Nice.
Again, it's just like going to a Bills game. It's a pain in the ass in certain areas. $16.50 beers, by the way. I bought 2 beers, $34. $34 for 2 24-ounce Bud Light cans, man.
And now you know why people tailgate.
Oh, yes. Oh, that shit was crazy, man. But
yeah, no, I don't mind the stadium for a concert. I saw Guns N' Roses there a few years back, and that was super. It was Guns N' Roses with live opening for them. And if you remember Live from the 90s. And Kowalczyk and those guys, like I was like, what a weird pairing this is.
Yeah.
But like that was, I mean, Guns N' Roses killed it. Like they were great. Slash rules, Axl's voice held up. So it's basically all you can ask for. It was a whole group. So like pretty cool. But I'm happy you got out to a concert because I had Rage Against the Machine tickets for like 3 years now. And because of the shoulder thing, I couldn't go. I mean, I could have gone, but the tickets were on the floor, which the entire floor is a mosh pit,
sure,
basically. And me rolling in there with this big bulky ass sling to be on the floor,
someone's gonna get you
begging to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
someone's gonna get you.
I asked a couple of my friends that went, and I was just like, would I have been okay if I went there? Like, you would have had to have stood all the way at the back on the floor to stay clear of people like moshing and throwing around and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I feel better about not going, because I would have been so pissed that because I mean, you floor, like, go wherever you can, get to wherever you can get to. And my friends and I know we would have been pushing to get, closer. If we get shoved around, so be it. But that's the stakes of going. But I would have been so annoyed having to be like, here I am all the way at the back. Cool. Everybody's having fun up there. Zach De La Rocha looks like tiny ant back here.
Let me ask you a hypothetical question before we move on. This is about another concert. Again, I said I've never been to a concert at Highmark Stadium, which, to be fair, it's not like there's been a shitload of them there. There's not a lot of concerts. Right. It's not often there's a concert there, but there is another one coming up next month. Let's pretend that Joe's shoulder is not jacked up right now, and let's pretend that you could get tickets not even at full price. So you can get them at a discount, but not for free, because anyone will go to a concert for free. But so you can get a decent deal on tickets. Would you go to the one that's coming up? It's sometime in August. I know it's Motley Crue,
yes,
Poison, Joan Jett, and there's a fourth act too. And it's escape. Oh, Def Leppard.
Def Leppard.
Def Leppard is the one I'd want to go see more than any of them. Is that a concert that intrigues you? Because I'm considering it.
I say yes because I've been to the M3 festival in Baltimore, or outside of Baltimore, multiple times, which is a hair metal festival. Like it's a big deal. They bring in tons of people from back in the day, whether you want to see them or not. Like, they're going to be there because like that's their time to be like, hey, you guys remember us? That's cool. You're coming to hear us play. So let's hammer it out. I think I've seen everybody else in the band in Motley Crue at M3, but never the band together. Like, Tommy Lee played drums for somebody one year. Nikki Sixx was there one year. I don't know. No, it wasn't his band. No, 6 a.m. wasn't there, but like Nikki Sixx was just there. I was like, okay, Vince Neil performed live one year, and it was just kind of like, he really sucked. And it was kind of like, okay, man, whatever. Like Mick Mars was living in outer space. So, whatever. But I would go to see them. I would go to see Def Leppard, even though I know Def Leppard no longer has a fastball. It's not like they've lost something on it. They no longer have it. Like, it is what it is. They've been around forever. I get it. And seeing Joan Jett would be really cool too. Like, that would be neat as hell.
Yeah.
Poison. I hate Poison. Couldn't be less interested in Poison.
I'd stay in if I knew ahead of time Poison was opening, if they were the first act, I'm assuming Joan Jett is. But if I knew ahead of time Poison was the opening act, I literally would stay in the parking lot so I could have a couple more beers before I came in and started buying 1650 beers.
See, what's unfortunate is I think Bret Michaels still has his voice. And Vince Neil. No. I say it's unfortunate. I say it's fortunate because at least he can still sing. Like, Vince Neil can't really sing anymore.
That's what I was going to say.
Like, if Bret Michaels could sing Crew stuff now, like that'd be weird as hell. But
I've seen videos of Neil singing, and it's not good, man.
It's rough, man.
I've seen a lot of people are making fun of him a lot. I probably would, if I do go, I would go just because I am a very nostalgic person, and I just I don't know. But yeah, you're set up for disappointment when you see a lot of these, especially rock groups, where the singers scream their heads off after all these years. They, to your point, they lose their fastball.
Life stuff has made them lose their voice. Like, I saw Dokken at M3 one year, and Don Dokken, good for him. He gotten cleaned up.
I was going to say life stuff. You mean alcohol and drugs? Right?
Yeah. Well, he got himself clean, and what was it? Crap. Who was the guy that he got in a fight with in Dokken? Who was that? George Lynch. His guitarist was, one of 1,000 different guys who were famous named George Lynch, but he famously got punched out by George Lynch, and that's what led to Dokken like kind of going their different ways. And so like after one of the songs, Dawkins, he's like, hey man, really cool to be here. I don't know why he's talking like a hippie, but he's just like, wow, it's so cool to see all these guys from back in the day. He's like, and I'm like, and like George Lynch's band Lynch Mob was on the docket as well. So it's like, is he gonna mention Lynch Mob being here and George Lynch? And he goes, saw my old pal George Lynch, and we're like, whoa, okay, I guess they're cool now. And he's like, yeah, man. I kind of drank a lot back in the day, and that wasn't really good. And me and George, we're cool now. And I'm like, so you're gonna bring him out for your set, right? Like he's gonna come out and like play a couple songs with you guys. And it's like, no, they're not that cool. They're like they're not that cool about things yet. But it was just like, listening to him sing though, it was like, oh, buddy, I'm so sorry. Like it's the voice just ain't there.
Yeah.
Like, with a lot of those guys, it's just, I mean, you have to kind of expect it. It's been 40 years in some cases, now that we think about it, like, oh my God. But
maybe we could do a draft someday, Joe, of concerts we've been to that turned out to be not as good as we wanted them to be.
Ooh, I could probably pick out like from festivals. I could probably pick out groups where I was hyped and then I heard them and I was like, oh my God, no. Like just walked away like, what was that? I don't even understand what they were supposed to be.
I'll never forget in the 90s because I am still a huge Boys II Men fan. But I mean, this is when they like took the R&B world by storm. Mm-hmm. And it was all four of them. Now there's only three, and there's only been three for a long time. But I remember seeing them live, and I was like, oh my God, these guys sound freaking horrible live. I mean, nothing like they sound on record, but anyway,
that's how nice. That's how it's nice to have a good producer. You can have they can cover up a lot of the flaws.
Yeah, absolutely. One quick non-sports thing, and then we'll dive into. I'm putting up a graphic. It's been a terrible month for fictional mobster actors.
Man, no kidding.
Now Paul Sorvino just went Ray Liotta, James Caan, Tony Sirico over the last even just a couple months, man. Henry Hill and Sonny from The Godfather, of course, Paulie Walnuts. Now Paulie from the Goodfellas, and plus he's been in a lot of other stuff. But God, man, it's just, man, when it rains, it pours. These mobster characters, I should say. I mean, real life people who's unfortunately passed away. But man, what a rough month or a couple months this has been for these guys, man, and just fans of these great mob classics.
And these aren't like bit players in these productions. These are like the big factors in these movies. Like two hitters, sure. Two big guys from obviously the lead guy in Goodfellas, but Paul Sorvino playing Paulie in Goodfellas. Oh my God. Like he was a guy that you watch that. And if you knew nothing about him, you think like, okay, he's actually connected. A, B, I would never cross that guy. Are you kidding me? Like he gives you that. Like, some actors are really good at giving a look, and it tells you everything you need to know about that scene and what they're doing and what it says what they're doing. And Paul Sorvino was really good at that. Like he just so many times in that movie where he just throws a look and you're just like, oh man, he's pissed, or oh man, he's gonna kill somebody, or just not even didn't even need to say anything, didn't even need to say a damn thing, and he's just like that's a commanding presence in a film.
The look he gave Henry Hill in Goodfellas when he was on the drugs, and just that look,
the drug stuff, Jesus,
crazy, just tough, man. Tough,
but that stinks. Like Tony Sirico, when you heard all the stories about him, like after the fact, and you're just like, man, that guy sounds like he was awesome, just like on off screen, just a great, funny dude to be around. And obviously Paulie Walnuts is like an unreal character. Like just every episode that he's involved in, it's like he's either stealing it with comedy, or stealing it by being a knucklehead, or stealing it by being absolutely terrifying. Like it's like that's a I don't know, that's a hell of a way to perform. Like it's kind of the only thing he's ever been known for. But man, if that's your legacy, that's a hell of a legacy.
It is. One last non-Bills or Sabres thing, and then I promise you fans we're jumping in, so hold your horses a little bit. Joe and I are both Yankees fans, and I think they made a pretty significant trade on Wednesday night. They traded three mid-level prospects for Andrew Benintendi, and because the biggest reason why I think this is such a big move for the Yankees is he don't strike out nearly as much. Joey Gallo, dude. Look, man, Joey Gallo, he's been the punching bag for a lot of Yankees fans, but it's been earned, man. I mean, this dude is always striking out. Benintendi's hitting 320. He only has 3 home runs and 39 RBIs. There's not much pop with his bat, but he hits for average, and he doesn't strike out nearly as much anyway. 52 Ks this year. He strikes out about 15% of the time. I was looking up the stats. Meanwhile, Joey Gallo, who soon, if not by the time you hear this, isn't on that roster anymore. He's got 12 home runs, so he's obviously got power, but He's hitting 160. Joe, you can hit with your shoulder sling right now. You could almost hit 161 right now. That's what he's been hitting this year.
Pretty sure that's what my batting average was in Little League, was a 160.
103 strikeouts and 230 at bats. Nearly 45% of the time this guy came to the plate, he struck out.
It's the fact that Benintendi's only struck out like 52 times. That's like a quarter or a fifth as much as Joey Gallo can strike out in a year. I mean, a fifth is being exaggerating, but like 200, him striking out 200 times a season is like almost automatic. Yeah. Which I it's thing. Joey Gallo's power, I love his power. Just like a stoic home runs all the time. But like when it's one home run every 8 games, is it? Like what is 12 over 80 or 90 games? It's like one every 9 games or something. Like, yeah. You got to do it, man. Like, I mean, if he gets on base a ton, cool, but like you can live with it. If he's, if his on base percentage is over 400, then like
you can live with it in June, July, and May. Are you going to live with it in September and October? Though, you know what I mean?
No.
The guy either it's a home run or strikes out. It doesn't work. I think it's a good move.
I've seen too many Yankees teams in the past that had guys that were great hitters all year long, and then suddenly couldn't hit in the postseason. For a guy that was like, knowing well enough, you got a guy that can't really hit, can't really deliver. But like the power is the tantalizing part. Like you can't live on that in the playoffs. You're not going to face any bum pitchers in the playoffs. Like it doesn't matter. Like if you're playing like the worst wild card team, chances are they still got a couple of guys that can help them win a series in 5. So yeah, I know I feel bad. I like Joey Gallo, but he can't deal with that anymore. Like it's too bad. But at the same point, like sorry man, it's cutthroat business. If you ain't getting it done, you got to go.
All right, I'm back with Joe Yerdon. All right, let's dive into some Buffalo Bills football quickly here. So I saw a graphic on Twitter. The USA Today put out I don't know who the person was who actually predicted these. I can't think off the top of my head, but I know this is from USA Today, and they have the Buffalo Bills going 15-2 this year. Now, I love the Buffalo Bills, not just as a fan, but I love this Buffalo Bills objectively as a football team. I've said it, and I truly believe it. I think from top to bottom, 1 to 53, I think this is the best roster in the entire NFL. But man, 15-2, I'll tell you right now, if I had money and I was being objective and I was going to go bet, I would bet that the Bills will go 15-2. There's too many factors that could happen. If you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, I do have the graphic up. They have the 2022 NFL record projections for every single team in this league. I don't know, Joe. What do you think about the Bills being projected at 15-2? And then after that, I'll follow it up because I got a couple teams where I think this chart is off. And I'll explain what I think, and then maybe we'll come back with a couple years. By the way, they got your lines at 8 and 9. So,
yeah, that's pretty funny. They're not going to be 8 and 9.
Isn't 15-2? I mean, look, again, this team's really, really good, man, but they're not a Super Bowl champion. They're not coming off a Super Bowl appearance. Not even coming off an AFC championship appearance right now, let alone AFC championship loss.
Yeah.
15-2 just seems so lofty, man. The Bills are really, 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 and forget about the Bills fans because you would expect that. This is national, largely unbiased media right now, not even local media. This is national media that is just, they're drooling over the Buffalo Bills. 15-2, man. What do you think?
Before we get into that, did they do a side-by-side of what they predicted for records last year compared to how it turned out? Because I'd be curious to what
me too. No, I didn't.
What the percentage was of ones they got right? Because I know fans were up in arms about stuff last year, especially with the Bills thing. I think he overcorrected based on being bullied online.
Could be
last year, and he's like, "Fine, you guys are going to go 15-2. Great, you're the best team in the world. Go away."
Could be, but man,
but like, weren't we just talking a week or two ago about how wicked the first part of their schedule is, like the first 6, 7, 8 games
last week? Yeah, we've done it multiple times.
I mean, so like the first 7, 8 games, if they go 5-2 through that, that's really goddamn good. But then you're going to tell me they're going to run the table the rest of the season? Like, I mean, they could. They could. I mean, the teams are pretty weak that second half of the schedule. Once they play Minnesota and Detroit, it's just kind of like, all right, man, like this is all playoff warm-ups at this point. Just don't get hurt. whoop them by 30 and get Allen and Diggs off the field after the third quarter. Like that's how I mean, in the ideal scenario, anyways, that's how like the last month of the season should be for him. But I don't 15-2, man. Like don't be a coward then. Just make them 17-0. Just, quit being a baby about it and just being like, fine, they're going to run the table. Great. Cool.
This is not uncommon either. The Bills being projected this high. I mean, I'm seeing it more and more, maybe not quite 15-2, but a lot of 14-3. It's just, I don't know, man. I just feel like a team should earn on the field, not on paper, should earn being this much better than everybody else. I look at teams that are proven, like the Rams and the Chiefs, and they got the Bills 3 games better than the Rams. They got the Bills 4 games better than the Chiefs. That's just really, really, really lofty. And
2 games better than the Bucks, which I think is crazy. I think that's another. We'll get into those, but like
we're going to disagree with that in just a minute here, because that's what I wanted to do. Again, I'm going to slap this up again on if you're watching on YouTube. If not, I'll explain on the audio version. Again, all 32 teams, they have a record projection for each. I look at them. And look, every year, and to your point that you made a couple minutes ago, every single year in every poll or projection that you ever see, there's always some team that's projected to win 4 or 5 games that makes the playoffs. It happens every single season. And then there's teams that are expected to win 12, 11 games, and they end up being 5-11 or 5-12 now because there's 17 games. So that's going to happen every year. I'm looking at these, and off the top of my head, there's a couple that stand out to me. He's got the Colts winning the division, so they'd still be in the playoffs, but only at 9-8. I think the Colts are better than a 9-8 football team.
They got a better quarterback.
They got a better quarterback alone. That should be good for 1 or 2 wins. Absolutely. Matt Ryan is better than Carson Wentz, and I think the Colts are a good team. So I think they're underselling the Colts being 9-8. I can see them winning 11, 12 games for sure. I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray fan. In fact, if you remember last week, we literally spent 15 minutes where I was telling you that Kyler Murray is a borderline at best top 10 quarterback and therefore not one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, while other people say top 10 means you are one of the best, whatever. Anyway, my point was this. I don't think he's all that, but I do think the Cardinals are better than the 7-10 projection that the USA Today has them. I can see them winning 10 games for sure. Tough division, sure, but I think they're a good team. New England, they got a 10-7, second in the division. I completely disagree. I think that the Patriots this year are going to be worse than 10-7. I can see them winning 6 or 7 games. And this is the one where I feel like you and I are going to disagree with, because maybe not, but I think so. They got Tampa Bay at 13-4. I'm going to tell you right now, I look at this list, and if I were going to bet money, like, give me a team that's going to have the most less victories than what's projected. I'm not going to say the biggest difference, because Houston at 3-14, even if they win, if they go 7-9 or 7-10, that's a 4-game swing.
Right.
But going the opposite way, down from projected wins, if you were going to say, Pat, pick a team and put some money on it that's going to have the fewest wins than expected, I'm going to say Tampa Bay. 2 reasons. Number one, at some point, Tom Brady's got to fall off a little bit.
How many years have you been saying this?
I know, but this time I finally mean it. It's like when I talk about my diet. I'm going to go on a diet. This time I finally really mean it. He's going to fall off at some point. He has to a little bit. Not to mention the odds of getting hurt go up. Also, they lost some pieces, man. Especially on that defense. Last year, that team was really good. They lose their head coach. So they got a first-year head coach. And the reason why that team has been as good as they have been for the last 2 years, and quite frankly, why they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, is based on that defense. And they lost not one, but both of their really, really good defensive ends, JPP and Shaquille Barrett. They're both gone. They're both gone now. And I got to look it up. I forgot who they replaced by. I know William Golson was one of them, and I'm looking it up right now. And Akeem Hicks. That ain't JPP and Barrett right now. That's a big difference. They got Vita Vea in the middle, but they also lost Ndamukong Suh, who still was a productive player. He had 6 sacks last year. So the guy could still play. That defense took some licks, is what I'm saying. And the linebackers are really good. The secondary, kind of a mixed bag. And Tom Brady's age. So if I had to pick one team that's going to fall off the most, I could see Tampa Bay going from 13 instead of 13-4. I'd say they can go 9-8. That's how 4-game difference, I would say. Saints might win that division, by the way.
They could. They got Carolina at 7-10. I ain't buying that. Like they got three different guys they got fighting for a quarterback, and none of them are good. So one's a rookie, one's Baker, then you got Darnold. So it's like whatever, man. It's a graveyard of quarterbacks.
They all stink too, by the way.
Right.
Baker Mayfield stinks. I don't care what team he's on. I know Cleveland didn't do him any favors, but you're either good or you're not, and he's not good. Anyway, you're right. So, that's a good one.
You mentioned the Cardinals, and them at 7-10 is insane to me. But going back to the Kyler Murray conversation, they're basically saying there are 23 quarterbacks that can get their teams to a better record than Kyler Murray, and I'm calling bullshit on that. You gonna tell me Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins are gonna get the Vikings and Lions to granted it's one game, to a better record than the Cardinals will? I don't think so. No way. Like, it's impossible. The Broncos, I mean, okay, West, that division that's a different breed. That Broncos being 8-9 is whatever. But like,
someone has
the records look all screwy because like you got like how many teams under 500 in the AFC? 1, 2, 3,
Cleveland,
4, 5, 6.
Cleveland, Jacksonville, Houston, the Jets. That's it, right?
So you're saying you got 10 teams that are going to be not just above 500, but way above 500. Like, are they all just going to feast on the NFC? And then you got the NFC. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that are over 500. They got 2 more that are 8-9. Like, sorry, man. Like, none of these compute. Like, some of these numbers just they don't make sense. But like, I don't know. Either some teams are going to be way worse, or there's going to be some different. Like Seattle at 5-12, that might be generous. Drew Lock, like, no way, man. Like, sorry,
they're not.
I don't buy that. But like, you got Atlanta 2-15.
Anytime a team's only projected to win 2 or lose 2, I'll bet against that. They're going to stumble their way into 4 or 5 wins.
Bears 4-13. I thought Mitch Trubisky was a savior. Oh wait, he was already there and he was bad. That's right. That's right. No, Pittsburgh 9-8. Like, I think that's being soft on Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh always overcomes poor expectations.
Yeah,
because Mike Tomlin's the best coach in the NFL. That's my hot take because he gets a trash setup and he finds a way to get him in the playoff picture every year. Yeah, a guy who had no arm for the last 5 years and he got him in the playoffs. What, 4 or 5 of those years? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, like I don't know. There's so much about this that is just kind of like it's a lot of hedging bets and trying to be like, well, I don't want to totally sleep on him, but I'm going to kind of sleep on him.
Yeah,
and then others where it's just like crown him now.
I would say this too, and then we're going to move on because I got a couple of actual Bills specific items I want to talk about, but to the point of we're going to spend a lot of time over the next couple of weeks, handful of weeks, talking AFC East, obviously, because that's the division the Buffalo Bills playing, and we'll be focused a lot more on that. But even just looking at that, first of all, the Jets, I think they're going to be better than 5-12, unless Zach Wilson really is bad. Yeah. I think they're a team that can win 8 games this year, 8 to 9 games.
7-10, I can see is realistic.
I understand why why Miami is projected to be 9-8, and that's because Tua is a big question mark. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you this right now, very confidently. If Tua is slightly above average, forget about elite. He ain't going to be elite. But let's just say he's slightly above average. He's better than a lot of people think that they're going to be. If that is the case, I am telling you right now, Miami Dolphins are winning 12 games this year. They're going to be 12-5. That team on paper, besides the quarterback position, is as good almost as anybody. That secondary is elite. Their playmakers are elite. They got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Gesicki. They got better running backs. The offensive line is okay. They got a lot of talent on defense, man. Miami Dolphins are a hell of a good football team. They just have a big question mark at quarterback. So I understand why they're 9-8, but they potentially could be a team that legitimately challenges the Buffalo Bills for the AFC East. I think that Miami on paper is that good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much about the way they ended last season was really good. Their defense especially. Granted, it's a new coach. Now, granted, I love the new coach, the guy from they got from San Francisco. Love him. So I can see buying in on Miami. The fact they got whoever put this together puts New England at 10-7, though. I'm like,
nope.
You believe in Mac Jones to win 10 games in a season? Okay, pal.
I'll bet on that not happening.
That's what I'd take the under on. You set the over under on them at 10. I'm taking the under.
Most teams in the offseason, you feel good about how when they reset their roster and they do things. even if your team's not good, you feel like they did good things and take good steps. It's not often where you say we took a step backwards in the offseason. I feel like the Patriots went backwards. They didn't sign anybody who was any good. They lost players. They didn't like their draft at all. And I don't think Mac Jones is that good. And I don't think Bill Belichick is quite the coach that everyone in the world thinks he is without Tom Brady. They just, to me, it's a form. Now, hey, I'm saying all this stupid shit and they made the playoffs last year. So, I mean, and they beat the Bills last year too in Buffalo. Weather played a big factor.
Still wins a win.
Yeah. And like I said, we're going to spend plenty of time talking about the AFC East teams as training camp in the preseason progresses. I want to kind of circle back to the 15-2 projection with the Bills. So, all right, Pat, you don't think the Bills could go 15-2. Well, why? Well, obviously injuries is the biggest reason. Any team in the NFL, you lose Josh Allen, you know what I'm saying? Bye-bye season.
Goodbye season, yeah.
Ditto with the Chiefs with Mahomes or Dallas with Dak Prescott. I mean, it can go on and on and on. You know what I'm saying? That's no diss to the Bills. That's just the way it is. Injuries could derail a season. But let's just take injuries out of it. What are two reasons that I am personally right now really concerned about the Bills? Or I'm not really concerned, but if I had cause for a little bit of pessimism to when it comes to this roster. Number one is the cornerback position. And we went through this last year. I mean, it's not like Trey White just got hurt this offseason and we don't know anything about the Bills secondary without him. But the depth right now at this position, I don't like it. You got a rookie in Elam, I should say, I'm sorry. And then you got Dane Jackson. Those are your two starters right now. And Dane Jackson, he's an up and down player. He's really hit and miss. Sometimes he looks great, and sometimes he doesn't look great. I've read a lot of reports from sports media people covering camp right now and again. There's not too much to tell. They're not even in pads yet, but kind of that's how it's been. He's hit or miss. And Elam's a rookie. So if Trey White's not back or if he's not 100%, I am concerned about, we talk about how good the AFC East is, or the whole conference. I'm sorry, not the East. How good the conference is, Joe. We talk about how loaded the AFC is, all these great quarterbacks. Let's just say Trey is either not playing at all or he's not 100% for the first 4 or 5 weeks. Bill's got a tough schedule early on, right? Yep. I mean, we've said that many, many times. Well, now you got a tough schedule and you got a rookie who's never played in the NFL before. And you got Dane Jackson, who could be good at times and at times not so good. And then behind them, too, there's nothing right now. Saran Neal is a special teams guy. Nick McLeod.
He's good. Saran Neal, I love Saran Neal on special teams, but man, in regular coverage, man, he's good for penalties.
Not so great. Not so great. And then they got two really young guys, Nick McLeod and Christian Benford, who are they've proven nothing in this league. Literally nothing.
Is Taron Johnson still alive?
Yeah, he is. I don't even count him though. To me, he's almost like amongst the linebackers. He's one of, if not the best slot corner in the NFL. But my concern is the outside guys, the guys watching the receivers on the outside. I'm not worried about Taron.
I guess that's where I'm thinking. I was like, why isn't Taron Johnson playing outside? Like he's a corner, right? Like
he is, but he excels. He really excels on the inside. That's where his bread is buttered. So they're not going to move him. It's the outside guys. And again, Trey White comes back and he's healthy and he's 100%. Far less of a worry.
Right.
But until that happens, in the early part of the season, especially with a tough schedule, Elam and Dane Jackson, that's thin. And that's a lot. That's reasons to be concerned if you're trying to go 15-2, or even if you're 15-2, you're trying to win the number one seed in the AFC. That
home field is the goal, right? Like that's the goal for the season's home field. Never mind going 15-2.
I'm surprised they haven't signed a veteran corner like a Joe Yerdon or somebody leaving to bring into camp just to see if they got any juice left in the tank.
Joe Yerdon's pretty close to the side of being toast.
He is, but maybe he can still help short term. I don't know. I mean, obviously, you got to.
If you need it for like a patchwork, then okay, but.
That's a legitimate concern. No, you got two outside corners who, have again, Kyrie Elam has never played a game in the NFL, and Dane Jackson, he started last year after the injuries, but they lose Levi Wallace, so that it's even thinner than it was last year. Now Levi Wallace is no world killer, but he was a good player. He was solid. He was steady.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, if I'm going to say they ain't going 15-2, that would be my number one reason. And then the number two reason is the offensive line, the depth. I think the 5 starters are okay. But even then, Roger Saffold's 34 years old and he's here on a 1-year deal and he got in a car. You can't say he's injury prone because they said do it on the field. He got in a car accident. He's got cracked ribs. they're hopeful he'll be ready to play before the season starts. Ryan Bates looked really good last year, but he only started 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they wanted to play 4 or 5 other guys before they finally gave Bates a shot. But then they liked him, and they matched Minnesota's offer, so he's here for the next 4 years. And the tackles are solid, but I mean, again, you look at the depth after that, after the starters. And Tommy Doyle, the 5th-round pick last year, he's probably the swing tackle. Greg Mans, David Quisenberry. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of depth on the offensive line, so and it's like that with most teams, to be fair. But those are 2 reasons. You agree? Like, if you were to say, Joe, what's a couple of reasons why the Bills might not go 15-2? O-line depth and cornerback sound like 2 reasons, right?
Yeah, the O-line is what would worry me more because we have seen what happens with injuries there.
Sure.
Last year, I mean, they were very fortunate last year that not only did Spencer Brown was able to step up and play as well as he did, but they were able to when Bates came in, like, okay, you were able to get guys to step up into those positions and take it and run with it. You can't always bank on that happening. Like,
right.
You can't always assume that, okay, next man up's got this, don't worry about it. Now, that you hope that is the mindset of the team, that like, hey, yeah, if guy goes down, we got it. Like, we'll take care of this. And I assume that's the mindset there, because why wouldn't it be like that? If that was even a doubt, there's no way people would say the Bills would be a Super Bowl favorite, because you'd just be sitting there going like, geez, man, they can't afford to lose one guy even for a game, because who knows how this is going to work out. But to me, the line worries me a little bit more, because they guard your jewel to getting to everywhere.
Absolutely.
So, and listen, it's where everybody will yell at me, but Allen can run. Like, I know he can run, but also you don't want him running for his life. You win by him throwing the ball, like you don't need this guy just running around, just doing crazy stuff all the time. So
we saw the line struggle. You're 100% right. We saw it last year. We lost it fucking Jacksonville last year because they couldn't block. By the way, I didn't even mention Cody Ford. I mean, he's going to get a chance again, but at this point, it's like,
and everybody's kind of over him.
Yeah, we saw it last year. Feliciano got hurt, and he was ineffective often. He got benched actually by the end of the year anyway. And Deion Dawkins had COVID twice. The line, when the line's not right, I don't care who your quarterback is. Look no further than the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, when there's probably not a better quarterback on this planet than Patrick Mahomes. Look what happens when you can't block to the pass rush.
Yeah. I was waiting for the siren to go off and get you on that one.
Yeah, no siren. No hot take alert there. But anyway, yeah, those are the 2 things to me that, if you're looking at it objectively and you say, well, maybe the Bills aren't quite that good, or things that you need to worry about that might make them not quite that good, and at least in the win-loss column anyway. That's what I would say.
They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be really good. They're going to be, they're going to be in the running to be
long as
home field. Like, I mean, if these are the worries where you're like, well, if these 3 things happen at this one position, then we're hurting. Well, yeah, everybody else would be too.
Absolutely. And I had to think long and hard. The funny part, I had to think long and hard to even come up with 2 reasons to be worried, because again, everything's going so well on paper, and just how everyone feels about this team. You almost, that Buffalo in you, that Bills fan, and that Buffalo fan needs to be a little bit dialed back a little bit. And speaking of, quickly here, Sabres, so there's nothing going on with the Sabres.
Yeah.
How you and Lance are able to, how you and Lance Lazowski at Maintenance Day Podcast are able to put together something every week right now is beyond me. Obviously, you guys spend a lot of time talking, going back and forth. You guys got a good rapport, so it makes for entertaining and informative listening. But still, the topical wise, ain't shit going on in hockey right now. So you guys got your work cut out for you.
Yeah,
I will say this though, Joe. I had a dream a couple days ago, and you know how it is with dreams. You only remember parts of it or whatever.
Right.
But what I do remember is that in Buffalo, the Sabres were I remember putting up polls or seeing polls. I didn't put up a poll, but in my dream, I saw a poll where the Sabres were, it was like 50-50. Like, who do you like more, the Bills and the Sabres? And it was like 50-50. The Sabres were as popular with their fanatics as the Bills. So I guess the only question that I could form this for you would be to say this. Even when the Sabres were great, like back in the years when people were nuts about the team with Drury and Briere, there was always way more Bills fans than Sabres fans. So there'll never be as many Sabres fans as there are Bills fans. But what needs to happen for the team, short, of course, of winning the Stanley Cup? What needs to happen for this team to start to get fans back on that level? Like people who are Sabres fans, like right now they're Sabres fans. We're like, yeah, the team's pretty good. I'm gonna go to a couple games this year. I'm talking like, yo, dude, Tage Thompson's at 67 West, man. I heard I got to go see him. I want to get his autograph. I got to see him. That's kind of how it is with the Bills right now. If Josh Allen or Dawson Knox, one of these guys are at a book signing or some kind of event, people flock to go see them. Like fans are like, oh my God, I got to see Tage Thompson. I got to go see Jeff Skinner. They're wherever. Or I'm not going to a couple games this year. I'm going to fucking save up every penny I have to go to as many games as humanly possible. Like what do you feel like this team is like even in that vicinity of that happening amongst their fans? What needs to happen for something like that?
They're within range of being able to kind of grasp attention like that. They need to just build off the excitement they had the last 2 months of the season. You need that to carry over into this year. You need the young guys to continue to grow. You need Thompson to be for real, 35, 40 goal guy. Like you can't, it wouldn't help them out if he regresses to like being a 20 goal guy. Like, I mean, given previous expectations, if he became a 20 goal guy every year, you're like, wow, awesome, incredible. Now the bar's set pretty high. So
sure.
So you want, but if he can repeat that, man, that's a huge boost.
Kind of like Josh Allen, right? The bar, the point being is the bar got set high and then he reached it again.
If you started Josh Allen as a tight end first, and you're like, screw it, put him at quarterback. It can't be any worse. Then yeah, that would be like Tage Thompson. So, but I don't know. You get a repeat season like that from Skinner. If he scores 30 again this year, like that's a huge help. People love him. They absolutely love Skinner. He's got like the boy band looks to him, which I know is an ancient way of putting it, but like he's just got like this nice off ice demeanor, personality. People love him. He's smiling. Like everybody loves that. And then when he's on the ice, he's an absolute asshole to everybody on the other team. And he's just barking at people. He's cursing them out. He's chirping them. He's doing all that stuff. So like, he's a pretty ideal Buffalo guy, honestly, when you think about it. Like Jeff Skinner is just kind of like, sweet, nice. He's like, oh man, Buffalo nice. Oh, this is really cool. You get him in the competition and he's like, hey, F you, pal. You stink. Like it's a switch. It just flips with him. But if you get, if Jack Quinn gets in the lineup and he starts lighting it up, like that's a huge thing because God help me. That'll start up the Josh Allen talk. It's like, nobody wanted Jack Quinn. Nobody wanted him. They said he stinks. Like, just get out of my face with that crap, please. Just keep. It's like the
I never
old
thought
commercials.
Of that until you said that.
It's like the old commercials. Keep the chocolate and the peanut butter separate. I know it's better together, but like, keep the Bills and the Sabres apart for a little while. It's just you guys. Yeah. Bills are in another planet with success. The Sabres are still figuring their shit out. So like, just keep the comparisons away. That's
a good take though. I never thought of that until you said that. Because to your point, he was drafted. What, Quinn was drafted 8th. Josh Allen was drafted 7th.
Well, it wasn't so much that. It wasn't so much that as it was
they didn't want him.
A lot of fans didn't want Quinn. That's like, I think Bills fans were very eager that whatever quarterback they took, they're like, okay, he's our guy. We trust it.
Not so much. There was a lot of anti.
Well, there's a lot of pissy stuff about whether him or Rosen.
A lot of fans wanted Josh Rosen. I put a poll up before the draft. I remember more fans wanted Rosen, but yeah.
But ultimately you're stuck with him. Like you're not gonna sit there and boo the guy because he's not the guy you wanted them to draft, right? Like you're just like, well, he's ours. He better work. That's basically you stand there and cross your arms. You say, well, he better work out, or else else I'm right. Like that's, and let's face it, you don't want the fans to be right when it's that kind of situation. But like, there were a handful of other guys that sparked, I don't want to say spark joy because that's lame, but like that sparked the curiosity of people more. Like Marco Rossi was a guy that Rossi was a teammate of Quinn's in Ottawa. Yeah. And Rossi put up tons of points. He's a center, the whole thing, like everything. You're just like, that's the guy the Sabres need. They should pick him. So they pick Quinn, who scored 50 goals, scores off the rush, does all that stuff. But you're like, he's kind of older than all the other guys drafted. And you're just kind of like, all right, man, like, I don't know about this guy. Maybe was he just feeding off his teammate? That was a lot better. But, Lance and I have talked about it a ton. Looking back on that draft, they could have picked anybody around that, like the next 5 picks after them. If they had picked any of those guys, they'd have been fine too. So like, it wasn't, unless they went really off the radar and picked somebody like totally stupid, and then like then you can kill them for it. But like they couldn't have gone wrong, and they didn't go wrong. So they picked the guy that fits them. Hopefully it works. But like you want those young guys to have success. You want Darlene to be even better. You want Owen Power to shine immediately. Like you want all those young guys, all the stuff like from the past where people are just like, no, the young guys are going to be what gets us out of this. You know, they're going to be fun. They're going to be exciting. Let's do it that way. And thankfully, Don Granato coaches them to be a fun style, a fun team to watch. You know, whether they win or lose, they're fun to watch.
Sure.
So you keep the entertainment value aspect of it high. If win or lose, people are going to like it. Now, we'll see what happens this year because there's going to be expectations. People are going to expect them to be a lot better, to make a run at the playoffs, whether that's realistic or not. I don't know that that's very realistic right now, but you want them to be in that conversation eventually, you know, towards getting closer to the end of the season. You just want them to be in the hunt, because if they're in the hunt, then they did something right.
Right.
But if they're out of it by, you know, you turn the calendar into February and they're pretty much
like every year.
Yeah. Like, but like not in an embarrassing way, but if they're just like, it's too big of a mountain to overcome, then, you know, ideally you want this team to be in pretty good shape by the time the Bills season's over with. So people can just like carry that right into that. Because let's face it, as long as the Bills are around and playing, Sabres are, you know, below the fold when it comes to the coverage, you know, like that's how it works. You
say so many players, and I'm like, yeah, you know what, man, this potentially anyway, there's enough.
They're going to be fun to watch. Like that's the thing. You just need the goaltending to hold up. You need, you know, you need some guys to repeat performances. So, or get better from it. Like, yeah, either way.
I just want them to be good enough and exciting enough that instead of just talking about it on podcasts or seeing people tweet about the team, I want to see it translate to the box office. I want to see the arena full again. I want to see
Party you and ownership both, pal.
I know. And I want to see Party in the plazas again. You know, it was just such a fun time to be a Sabres fan.
That's the thing.
Again, at that time, it was on the same level as the Bills. Not as many fans, but fanatically speaking, they were on the same level. I want to see that again.
That's the thing. Everybody wants that. Like, no matter, like, players want it. You know, the executives want it. Obviously, the fans definitely want it. But like, they got to remember what happened when they tried to push it a few years ago.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work. They gave up tons of futures to make it work, and it didn't work because they were all the wrong people to bring in. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, some people wanted them to like really push, make a trade to get, you know, a better guy. You know, why did they get Matthew Tkachuk? Why did they get these guys? It's like, listen, that's not the conversation for them right now. In a year or two, that they should be in those conversations. Like that's where they should be. They got the cap flexibility, ideally. You know, they've got they're in a place where they're going to be competitive in the playoffs. They're going to be, you know, they can make that push for the Stanley Cup. Okay. Then you think about making that kind of deal then. Right now, no, you don't know if you have the goalie. Like, they're high on Eric Comrie. That's cool, but they don't know if you got the goalie. Your defense is really young, so you got to see how they hold up. You need to see if your forwards can repeat what they did last year, you know, at least a handful of them anyways. You need some guys to be better. You need some guys to take a step. Can they do that? Can all those guys do that? Like, it's a lot of stuff you need to go right to be able to say, okay, our progression is where we like it. Let's build on that into next season. Because if they repeat this year and do like a 78, 79 point season, that's a big disappointment.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to our starting five draft, and we'll recap last week to begin. We did movie rom-coms. A rare victory, but I certainly will gladly take it. For me, 67%. I took Forgetting Sarah Marshall, 40-Year-Old Virgin, The Wedding Singer, Pretty Woman, and There's Something About Mary. Joe took 33%. Joe took When Harry Met Sally, Clueless, 10 Things I Hate About You, Groundhog Day, and Notting Hill. Look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Forget about who won this poll and forget what the percentage is.
I already have.
I know you have. You've already on the next one. I get that. Honestly, I don't like it. It was a lazy effort with the category. It was too vague. Best rom-coms. It should have been a timeline for rom-coms. Like, we could have did one on 2000s. We could have did one. We could have did these by decades. You could find, and trust me, a lot of the reactions were more than people supporting either of us. I think a lot of the reactions were ones we didn't take because this was such a goddamn generalized category. Mm-hmm. I should have said, all right, 80s rom-coms, 90s rom-coms. We literally could have did any decade, and it might have been a little bit tougher. We could have dialed in a little bit more. It's just kind of felt like one of those.
Yeah, the one comment that I saw from somebody that offended me the most was like, why did none of you pick any of the classics? And I'm looking at mine, I'm like, I picked like 3 of the classics from like the 80s, 90s. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean no classics? Did I not pick like Roman Holiday from like the 1950s or 40s? Like, sorry, man, like my bad. I should have picked Roman Holiday, I guess. But yeah, it's.
And I think mine were more out. You said this last week. Mine were more outwardly funny, and I think fans kind of stuck to that and kind of maybe forgot even a little bit about the romantic part of rom-coms, even though they are rom-coms. I mean, they are stories about, getting together, especially The Wedding Singer. I love that pick, and no one really talked about that, man. I thought that was a great pick for me.
I'm more upset that was it Matt Perino's wife didn't tell us which ones she thought were more comedy than rom-com. I was like, come on, you got to tell us. And I don't think she ever told us. So she goes publicly calling her out. Like, you got to let us know which ones you thought were comedy.
She's a big pop culture person. Matt's wife is a huge pop culture person, and she always has takes. I love listening to her too, man. She's really cool. But she did. She said, I got thoughts, but then I don't remember ever really.
I asked her, I go, all right, tell us which ones, because I want to know. And then she disappeared. I was like, come on, please.
Let's jump to all right. So let's jump to this week's draft. We're doing best lead guitarist. And again, this could be somebody who's part of a band. This could be somebody who just is his own artist. And I'm going to preface this one last time by saying I don't know nearly as much as Joe does when it comes to guitar players and
that
just
can get in my way.
Rock music in general. That said, sometimes with these polls, how dumb they end up being, the less you know, the better off you do. I consider myself an 80s guru to some extent. And every time we seem to do some 80s, I lose. And again, I said this on Twitter. We did a Christmas movies draft. I literally watched 30-something Christmas movies to prepare for this draft. And it's the biggest ass whooping I ever took in 53 polls. Over a year's worth of polls, it was the worst beating you ever gave me. And I went into that saying, you know what? I know all these by heart and la, la, la. So who knows? Maybe my lack of knowledge might somehow help me. I don't, because then maybe I won't overthink it. I don't know. But anyway, you're kicking us off. You got the first pick.
I do have first pick. Okay. Well, thank goodness, because that will allow me to take Jimi Hendrix with the number 1 pick.
Okay.
There's nobody better than Jimi. I think this even goes back to our stage presence conversation. Like a guy who can command the stage. Now, granted, Jimi he died back in the early 70s. So like there wasn't a big memory of that, but man, oh man, like he's sometimes credited with creating heavy metal with the kind of way he played guitar. Like 1960s, everybody's still doing hippy dippy shit. And Jimi comes out, he just starts essentially taking blues and then turning it up to like 15. Never mind turning it up to 11. He turned it up to a whole other level. And like some of the stuff he's able to do on guitar is just unbelievable. So Jimi, like he led the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Like all of his groups were the Jimi Hendrix something, Jimi Hendrix Experience, the all that stuff. But he's the guy. Like he's just an unbelievable top to bottom guitarist.
I will say this too. We call it Tony Soprano. I call it a Tony Soprano pick. There's some categories.
No, you think that's going to be a Soprano pick?
No, I meant is that's like some you could debate. Like sometimes we surprise each other. Like I took Shawshank Redemption over Goodfellas a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a surprise. Some categories, it's like you are really dumb if you don't take this and you got the first overall pick. Just like with like HBO, characters. If you don't take Tony Soprano, you're dumb. So that's why I call it a Tony Soprano pick.
Okay.
And I'm gonna warn you, I said this. My reasoning behind my picks are going to be far less detailed than what Joe just gave you with Jimi Hendrix. I got the next two. I'm going to go Jimmy Page.
Nice.
From Led Zeppelin. I actually do like Led Zeppelin. Just some of the guitar riffs, Kashmir, Stairway to Heaven, Heartbreaker. Those are songs that I like a lot. So I'm picking Jimmy Page. Again, my explanation is going to be far less than yours. And I'm going to go Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. And the reason why is if you've been a guitar player for 177 years, then you should be on this list. The dude is like 10,000 fucking years old. Isn't he? Like he's been doing drugs for over 170 years at this point right now. But like, I like Rolling Stones music, not as much as a lot of people do, but I do respect a lot of their music. Give Me Shelter, one of my favorite songs ever. Just great guitar playing. Keith Richards, I don't know, 10 years got to matter to me. So I'm picking him.
I'm honestly surprised because there's a guy that I'm about to take right now that I'm surprised you did not take. His name's Eddie Van Halen. I don't know if you've ever heard of his band called Van Halen before.
Could have been my first pick.
I was expecting it to be your first pick. I don't need to talk about Eddie Van Halen. He's just an unbelievable. My favorite Eddie Van Halen story is that whenever they shot videos where it's like him, obviously playing guitar. I think I saw this on a pop-up video thing back in the day. But he wanted no close-ups on his handwork on the guitar because he didn't want anybody to copy his style. And I'm like, that's a guy who knows his shit. Like that's either somebody who's
shit, man.
Right. Like that's either somebody who's like thinks they're too good and it's just like, all right, man, who's gonna copy you? But it's like, no, literally everybody would have wanted to copy Eddie Van Halen and how he could play a guitar.
Hopper like Teacher is one of the video him playing. Oh my god,
yeah. I'm so shocked you did not pick him.
Yeah, I'll pay the price for that.
Maybe we'll see. But my next pick is gonna be Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Okay.
So many of these guys have like blues backgrounds, and Stevie Ray's definitely one of them. But like any of his solo stuff, like any of his solos, never mind. Like, he's always solo guy. He has band and everything, but like, holy smokes, dude! Like that dude can just play, and like he was just such an unbelievable player, and he was able to just do so much stuff to get like these sounds out of the guitar where it was like, oh man, this guy rules. And again, another guy who's taken from us way too soon, way too soon. I think there was a helicopter accident or something like that. But like, oh man, he was so good. And just like listen to, and if you want to, kind of debate me on this stuff, which is fine, bring it to me on Twitter. Listen to Texas Flood and tell me what you think of his guitar playing. Holy smokes.
I got two here, and
have I deflated you by taking Eddie Van Halen?
I should have taken Eddie Van Halen. At least with one of I should have taken him and added Keith Richards, fucking for sure. All right, so my next two, again, I don't know them on the levels that you do. A lot of these guitar players, but I know I like them. And it's not even rock and roll here. BB King.
No, beautiful. You kidding me? That's never knocked that.
One of my best friends, God rest his soul, Dave. He passed away a long time ago. He's a huge blues guy, and I was kind of, I could deal with it, but I never really liked it. I never sought the music out. But then he played some of those records, man, and it just absolutely fucking incredible, and got me kind of liking that genre of music, which I never did before. The Thrill Is Gone is one of my favorite songs of all time, and of course that's by BB King. So I'm gonna take him. And then I'm going to go back. I want to say it was the 50s. Chuck Berry.
Nice.
All right. So, again, I'm kind of going with a little bit of off-the-wall picks here. Johnny B. Good, Maybelline, expert guitar playing, man. So, again, I really don't have anything more to add, but I love those two guys. So, I feel good taking them.
Plus, his cousin Marvin Berry called him when Marty was shredding on stage.
That's right, Back to the Future, yeah. Can we make a real-time trade? I'll give you Keith Richards for Eddie Van Halen.
No, I'm turning that down. I know it's one draft pick ahead of the other one, but no, that's an NBA trade. Like you picked him for me and then I picked Eddie for you and then we swapped. No, we're not doing it. Actually, we can make that trade, but it doesn't go through as official for 4 more weeks. So that's that's how that one's going to work. Sorry, Pat. I gotta say no, man.
You got 2 more here. Your last 2.
Okay. So there's just so many good ones, and it's not even like leaving guys on the board. It's just like there's a zillion guys that are amazing, and you're just kind of like, all right, whatever. I gotta do it to you again, Pat. I'm really sorry. I gotta pick Prince.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I knew it. I was resigned to that it could happen. I didn't think you were going to take Eddie Van Halen. I don't know why I thought that, but
that's your own fault right there.
That is my lack of knowledge. I had a feeling Prince was going to go though. Yep,
yeah. Prince. See, like like things like this can be dominated by blues guitarists, which makes sense because blues music is incredibly good. But like this is and you're right. Like this is a category where I can go really off the radar like with a pick that could be automatic, like, yes, no, he's absolutely the best, but people would be like, who the F is that?
Right.
And like it's not wrong to pick either guy in that case, because they both count. Like they're both perfect, they're both great. But like me trying to act like I'm the smartest guy in the room, that's what gets me to lose. That's what causes me to lose all the damn time.
That happens to me a lot.
I get caught sniffing my own farts on this stuff, and I'm just kind of like, all right, well, that's on me. I screwed up. I got it's a toss up between two guys for me right now.
I got one locked in if you don't take them.
I'm going to take Brian May from Queen.
He's actually, that's not who I was taking. However, he is, I only have a list of 8 guitar players, and that's one of them.
He's, I mean, Jesus, listen to any Queen song and listen to the guitar playing. That's really all you need to do. Mm-hmm. But also, I love that he's like an astronaut. He's like an astrophysicist on top of that. Like that's, that to me is just like, okay, dude, you're already like one of the best guitar players that's ever existed. And oh yeah, you know space. Neat. Way to rub it in everybody's face that you're better than us. Like, thanks, man. But yeah, but for real, Brian May rules, dude. He's just a colossal player.
All right. I got my last pick here. I already referenced with BB King, my deceased buddy Dave, and this is going to be another dedication to him, Carlos Santana. That's going to be my last pick. Just I know how well known and respected he is. And again, back to a quick buddy of mine story. He was dying of cancer in his hospital room, and we all knew it was the end. And we were all gathered in his room for the final, couple hours or whatever have you. And his son played Black Magic Woman by Santana literally on loop. And I'm not exaggerating. Like there weren't like a couple songs. It was low, respectful for other people in the hospital, but played it on loop for like 5 straight fucking hours, man, and nonstop. And I don't know, I'm just a big Santana fan. And again, there's probably other ones out there who might be more accomplished that I don't know of, but I can live with that one.
I don't like, listen, there's still a lot of names on the board here that could have been brought out. Jeff Beck.
Eric Clapton was one that I thought
Eric Clapton. So much I've learned about Eric Clapton over the years makes me be like, nah, F him forever. Like he can go away. Pete Townsend, Pete Townsend, David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. Holy shit, dude. David Gilmour's
you're getting into David Gilmour. That would be territory where the average person like myself, if you said that, I'd have to go look up who he was with.
I know Pink Floyd. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I personally think everyone that we drafted is well enough known to that the average common person is going to know. And as we wind this down, as we get out here, let me recap these real quick here for everybody too. So Joe had the first overall pick. He takes Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen. Ugh, that pisses me off. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Prince, and Brian May. I took Jimmy Page, Keith Richards, BB King, Chuck Berry, Carlos Santana. I project, we're never ever right, and we never know. I project about a 64-36 victory for you. I think there'll be some people. No, maybe not. Maybe I'm being ambitious.
I listen. I didn't think last week's poll was going to be a 2/3 majority poll. Like,
no.
I figured that was that was going to be a 55-45 kind of thing. I don't know. I never know what people like. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know what's going to move people for the day. And I don't know. I'm proud of the group that I drafted. I will stand by them. But if it ultimately leads to a loss, then that's a loss I can eat, because everybody you picked also rules. So yeah.
Talk to you guys next week, everybody. One last quick note too. I forgot to say this at the beginning, and I should have. Next week, tentatively anyway, Joe and I plan on going to Buffalo Bills training camp next Thursday. We're going to go check out practice, and then we're actually going to tape our show live immediately after practice from Rochester. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks as always, buddy.
Thanks, man. And I'll be curious to see how many people say, hey, man, this isn't a hockey rink when they see me. That'll be fun.